Hello folks, Torin here, and yeah, I've spent some time working on this canoe over here. It's my 12.5 foot Sportspal canoe that I use for exploring around the backcountry and taking those drone videos that you may have seen on my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to show you how I installed this over here, the yoke, into the canoe. So let's get into it. Before you get started, here's a quick overview of the tools that I would recommend for this project. None of them are very expensive or involved, but they're just things that I would recommend having. So we have you'll want to have a screwdriver for unscrewing and screwing things. You'll want to have a hammer for driving out the rivets, a drill to drill holes in the yoke and drill out the rivets, drill bits to go with your drill. Just a normal set of drill bits is just fine. And you'll also want to have an X-Acto knife to trim foam, and a measuring tape because it's useful to be able to measure the length of the yoke. In many cases, at least in my case, you'll have to trim it to the proper length. I use this handsaw to do it. A couple other tools that you'll probably find useful are this 3/8 spanner. If you don't have one of these, you can do it with an adjustable wrench, but it'll be a lot more fiddly, and it can be hard to get an adjustable wrench into tight places like you have on the Sportspal canoe. And then this over here, this is useful for removing the seats. We'll talk about that a little later. And this punch set is not essential, but it's very handy for knocking out the rivets after you drill the heads off. So, once you've got all your tools, what you're going to want to do is, your boat likely came with this bracket over here in the middle, like that. Let's get up here and show you the whole thing. Now, which can be used as a yoke. It's technically called a thwart, but it's very uncomfortable to use after a short amount of time. So, in order to get this out, you'll want to drill out the rivets, and then just bang this with your punch, which, if you don't have a punch, you can just use a nail. It'll also work. Rip it out like that. And then you're going to want to measure the distance between the sides here, like that. Right there, measure this distance here. And you'll want to trim your new yoke to that proper length. If it's a little too long, mine was a little too long, so I had to trim it a bit. Just remember to cut the same amount off on each end. That's why I recommend having the handsaw. Also, it helps to do this if in a vise, but if you don't have a vise, you can use your foot to hold it. It's okay. And once you have that in, you'll want to put it in place here, and I recommend using a couple of C-clamps to hold this up. I should have showed those in the tool collection, but I didn't. Anyway, normal C-clamps work just fine. A couple small ones are all you need. Clamp it up, drill your holes, and install your bolts. Now, you may very well have to go and I don't know if you can see that down there. Trim the foam under here for the bolts to clear, or for this yoke to fit. Use your X-Acto knife for that. It's pretty easy to cut. Now, once you've put your yoke into your Sportspal canoe, what you're probably going to notice is that there's not much space between the front of the yoke and the seat, because the original position of the seat here was right there. And that left about this much space between the yoke and the seat, which, well, wasn't exactly enough space for my head. So I decided that I should move the seat ahead just a little bit to this new position so that I could actually get my head underneath the yoke properly. Now, in order to move the seat forward, what you're going to want to do first is remove the sponsons. Now, the sponsons usually go right here. You can see the stripe here where I repainted the boat without removing the sponsons previous time. And this is a process that should be fairly straightforward because they're just bolted on with a 3/8 bolts with Robertson heads. But what happened to mine was because the bolts were not stainless, they're just galvanized steel, and the boat is made of aluminum. They galvanically corroded, and none of them would unscrew. So I ended up having to cut the sponson off with an X-Acto knife and then cut the bolts off with a grinder. So, but you can use a hacksaw to do that, or you can just use bolt cutters or your favorite bolt cutting tool. While I was at it, I also replaced these front bolts up here with stainless steel bolts as well, because the nuts on there were really rusted. So anyway, once you got your sponsons off, then you're going to see a couple of rivets that hold these brackets over here on, like these guys. You're just going to drill those rivets out with the drill, the way you did for the for the rivets that held this. Just drill them out. Use your punch to knock them free. And then these seat brackets should come right on out. Now, it's maybe easier to, in some cases, remove the seat first, or you can do this with the seat end too. It's up to you. But the seat here is held underneath by 4 Robertson screws. Now, that's why I use the ratchet here and with a Robertson bit on it, because there isn't really a ton of space here to fit a normal screwdriver. So you can do it with a stubby screwdriver too, but the ratchet was a little quicker, so it was kind of handy for that. So anyway, once you remove your seat, you're going to want to reposition. It's up here. This is based on a photo I found online of where they sell this boat with a pre-installed yoke. It's basically, I left 1, 2, 3 frames between the yoke and the seat. And I was able to reuse these the front holes for the front seat as the new back holes. So what you're going to want to do at that point is you'll want to trim your seat down and measure the distance between the two sides here. Now, hint, the distance is going to be longer at the back than at the front, so keep that in mind. You're going to want to make a beveled cut like I did here. Well, what I did is I did it for the back first, laid the seat down in the right spot, then measured how far it was between these two brackets. I got 18.5 centimeters between these two. So, but double check that, because on the port side of the boat, the distance between those two is 18.5. On the starboard side, it's 18. So this seat here is obviously not perfectly square. So double check my measurements. Your boat may vary slightly. So once you know where this bracket here goes, you can measure the distance between this side and that side here. Just install it. I had to cut 4 centimeters off each end approximately here, and 3 off each end of the back. Not a big deal with the handsaw. And yeah, after that was done, I just basically clamped this into place using I clamped these front ones into place with some C-clamps to keep everything steady. Then I marked the holes here, pre-drilled the holes. You're going to need to do that because this is hardwood, and if you put screws straight in, it'll split. And yeah, then all you need to do is drill your 8 holes, screw it in, and then drill your hole in from here. I did it from the inside to make sure it indexed properly, and then bolt your front seat on with some little machine bolts and nuts. I also replaced the screws under here with stainless and used stainless bolts in this whole build so that they wouldn't rust if I ever have to remove the seat again. So yeah, that's basically how I installed this yoke over here into this Sportspal canoe, and then I moved the seat forward to ensure there'd be plenty of clearance for my head. And if you're thinking, well, but what about the front person? Is there going to be enough space for the front person's legs? Well, the answer is yeah. I know you can't see in there, but I'm about 6 feet tall, so 1.8 meters. And there's loads of space here for my feet. Alright, here's the view from when I'm carrying the canoe. It's actually kind of tricky to hold the camera here and carry the canoe at the same time, because I'm carrying the camera with one hand, holding the canoe over here on my left hand. But as you can see, I'm holding onto this front seat here with my hand. Usually I'd be using 2 hands for this, but I've got one hand on the camera, so I can't do that. And then the canoe is resting on my shoulders on the yoke. The PFD I'm wearing, that's just to make it more comfortable. Without the PFD, this is really, really hard on my shoulders. And it's also a legal requirement when you go canoeing, so why the heck not? Here's the view when you're portaging. It's not a lot of forward visibility, in case you're wondering. But anyway, that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.